Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're excited to have each of you here for the U.S. Small Business Administration and Public-Private Strategies Institute webinar series, Building a Better America, a Small Business Resource Community. Our goal today, if we can go to the next slide, and across the series of events is to connect small businesses with critical resources and information about the Biden-Harris administration's policy agenda, including how the Inflation Reduction, bipartisan infrastructure laws, and the American Rescue Plan create opportunities for small businesses. Today, we'll be convening with leaders with the small business community to discuss the access to capital resources that are available to you. I now have the honor to introduce Regional Administrator of Region 6, which is in the South Region, Ted James. As Region 6 Administrator, Mr. James oversees the SBA programs, offices, and operations in the SBA's South Central region, serving Arkansas, Louisiana, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas. Mr. James' passion for leadership is driven by a deeply held desire to impact the lives of others while transforming his community. A native of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, he was taught at an early age the value of service, the strength of community, the importance of quality education, and the principles of social justice. Mr. James earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in accounting from Southern University A&M College and obtained his JD, which is Juris Doctorate, with honors from Southern University Law Center. And with that, I have the honor of introducing you, Regional Administrator Ted James.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction and for the opportunity to share all of the dynamic programs and functions of the SBA. I also want to give a huge thank to Public-Private Strategies for providing this platform, and offer my apologies that I'm speaking to you all from my cell phone today, as I'm having a lot of technical difficulties on this afternoon, but nonetheless, that does not take away from this program and the intent that we have to share so many resources to our small business community. I am just so excited and blessed to be in this role as Region 6 Administrator under the leadership of Administrator Guzman, who always talks about us as an agency being as entrepreneurial as the businesses that we serve. In the last 13 months in this role, I have traveled all across Region 6 to meet with small business owners to talk about SBA's capital programs, but to also highlight all of the legislative victories with the American Rescue Plan, the Inflation Reduction Act, and the bipartisan infrastructure law, not just highlighting them as legislative victories, but talking about them in terms of how they can be victories for small businesses. When we talk about access to capital, one of the things that I think is highly important about the SBA, when we talk about the word equity, under this administration and at our agency, equity is not just a motto, it is a culture. And I think that it is a culture that was really given a huge jumpstart at the beginning of this administration with the American Rescue Plan, when we were able to invest millions of dollars into our Community Navigator program. So when we talk about Black and Brown communities and small businesses, our Community Navigators are trusted organizations within communities that entrepreneurs have known for years. And now those organizations, in partnership through the American Rescue Plan and the SBA, are helping those business owners navigate all of our capital programs at the SBA. Another very strong piece of our equity commitment is the infusion of women's business centers on the campuses of historically Black colleges and universities. Again, trusted organizations being empowered with the full force of the SBA to make sure that our small businesses get access to the information. I will admit to you guys that I have been guilty of calling certain communities underestimated. In the last 13 months, I've learned that those communities are not underrepresented, they're underestimated. But for access to information and access to opportunity and access to capital, those communities and those small business owners and entrepreneurs in those communities can thrive. One of the things that we are also very excited about is the historic relationship that has been formed with the SBA and our National Panhellenic Council. Again, recognizing that equity is not just a motto, but a culture. And we are working with the D9 and National Panhellenic Council to reach out to our small business owners to make sure that they have the necessary resources to take advantage of the SBA 7A program, our 504 program, and most important, our Community Advantage program with our mission-based lenders, those lenders who make it their business to make sure that small business owners and entrepreneurs in those underestimated communities have opportunity to get that critical access to capital to take advantage of all of the trillions and trillions of dollars that we know the federal government will invest in infrastructure projects aimed at rebuilding our nation's roads and bridges, expanding broadband, and supporting the transition to clean energy. This historic legislation will create millions of good-paying jobs over the next decade, as well as provide a pathway to the workforce for many people who lost their work during the COVID-19 pandemic. Making good on that promise, however, will require that we make a federal investment in the people so that they can build an inclusive infrastructure and a workforce in the 21st century. And I think that I'm very confident in saying that we at the SBA are doing that through all of our district offices, where we are not just connecting our small business owners and entrepreneurs to the access to capital, but we are talking them about certifications. We are helping them to get their businesses prepared to take advantage of the trillions of dollars investment in infrastructure projects through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, as well as the Inflation Reduction Act. This commitment, as well as the executive order that was signed by our president, increasing small business participation in federal government contracting, again, underscores that with this administration and with the SBA, equity is more than a motto, but it is a culture. And I know I've said that several times, but when you mean something and you feel it and you get to, advance these practices and these policies every single day, it is something that I'm very intentional about. So we are working to make sure that through all of our resource partners and through all of our district offices, that we are empowering our entrepreneurs with the access to the information that many of these communities have lacked for far too long. So I will tell you all that our SBA lenders are ready and able to assist all of our entrepreneurs, whether they're ready to start, grow, or expand. Please feel free to reach out to your local district office regarding all of the different certifications. If you are a woman-owned business, a veteran-owned business, a small disadvantaged business, connect with our resource partners in our district offices so that you can have those necessary certifications. Just this morning, I was with a group in Lafayette, Louisiana, working with the Department of Transportation, resource partners, and lenders regarding projects coming to the Louisiana by way of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Our small businesses are ready. They're getting their certifications, and they're going to play a huge part in building a more resilient America, expanding broadband, and supporting our tradition to clean energy. With that, thank you so much, and I look forward to meeting many of you along this path as we continue to support our small businesses and entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much, Mr. James. We truly appreciate your time. We are now going to hear from Linwood V. Long, Sr., who is the president, CEO, and co-founder of the African American Alliance of CDFIs and CEOs. He is also the co-founder and visionary, rebrander, and the former president CEO of Carolina Small Business Development Fund, a CDFI and statewide nonprofit organization known for programs related to African American small businesses, women entrepreneurship, veterans, and the Latino Hispanic community. His work with historically Black colleges and universities within North Carolina has been mentioned as a national model. Linwood also served as the chief of staff for former Congresswoman Eva Clayton, and he is a senior pastor of New Bethel Baptist Church and a retired Army Vietnam combat veteran. And with that, we thank him for his service and all that he has done for our community, Mr. Linwood Long.
Thank you for that. Very kind words. I was trying to wonder who were you talking about when you were reading all of that. But look, it is great to be here again. Linwood Long, Senior, CEO of the African American Alliance of CDFI CEOs. And I want to certainly give thanks to Public-Private Strategies for having me. Kudos to them and the great work they do. And also to the Regional Administrator 6, Brother Jones, thank you for your comments. And I do want to give a shout out to SBA because they have done much to advance equity, inclusion, and a number of SBA programs. And we had the good pleasure, as many of those who are involved in SBA Community Advantage programs, to begin to make substantive changes that remove barriers. And I think anytime you move barriers for small businesses, especially small business of color, we advance this whole dream of decreasing the racial wealth gap. I think I want to give just a few words about the African American Alliance of CDFI CEOs. It's a network of 80 Black-led CDFIs across this nation, serving at least 35 states, but with service in all 50 states. We think they are very value-added to the dream of closing the racial wealth gap, which is a fight that for all of us. And our members are doing a number of things. And if you're a small business located in America, no doubt somewhere you have probably interacted with a member in your state or in your city. These organizations have been on the front line of increasing capital and providing technical assistance to small businesses. And I think when I reflect upon some of the things that they are doing to assist entrepreneurs, and let's face it, entrepreneurs of color face this daunting task of access to capital. And some research has indicated that access to capital, equity, lack of equity, collaborations are factors that prevent the scaling, in fact, the launch of many Black businesses and businesses of color. And we want to say that we're on the front line of doing that work with innovative program. Community Enterprise Partners has innovative programs to increase Black developers in this space, working with U.S. Bank with a unusual and a non-traditional bond program. We think those kind of initiatives are very important. True Fund, our member, and another member in New Orleans, Nucor, have come together and put a program entitled the People of Color Fund, which is very important. But let me pause also to say this Black History Month, let us salute Black entrepreneurs and all entrepreneurs, but specifically the value that Black entrepreneurs and small businesses have really impacted the economy of America. There are 2.58 million Black businesses doing well, and we thank and applaud $150 billion in revenues, 3.56 million in jobs that they've created, lasting impact. And so often we hear about the problems, but we don't hear about the impact and the contributions they make. I was reflecting as I was preparing to come on about a report that the AEO did several years ago. It was the tapestry of Black business ownership in America. And I wonder, have anything changed since that report? It talked about the barriers around credit, the barriers around capital, a lack of capital, and access to trust from those who make decisions. I'm hoping that we have made some progress, but look, truth be told, we still have some work to do. But I'm a firm believer, if we work together, and say that we are truly focused upon creating a true level playing field, we'll get there. I have that hope, I have that aspiration, and believe we can do it. Now, let me tell you, the administrator talked about IRA for a second, but I want to tell you that within IRA, small businesses and entrepreneur, whether you're a sole proprietor, whatever your structure might be, within that bill is the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. That fund, $27 billion, $7 billion going to states and municipalities, nonprofit, and native entities, $7 billion going out soon. Hopefully by this summer, we have more information about that. But there's $20 billion that will be going to nonprofits and others who are in not only in the green space, but also doing energy efficiency kind of work. Now, out of that $8 billion is set aside for low income and disadvantaged communities. Now, if I'm a small business, I'm gonna tell you what I would be doing. I would be preparing myself to say, what are the opportunities afforded through this bill? I'm gonna tell you, if you're an electrician, I'm gonna be looking at charging stations. If I'm a housing developer, I'm gonna be looking at how can I make homes more efficient, energy efficient. And if I'm working in the solar panel industry, I'm going to be looking at how I begin to develop programs that make them affordable to low income and disadvantaged community. I'm going to tell you, with $27 billion, that is one of the largest investments that this administration has made with regard to the green energy space and climate and energy, period. It pales, when you look at SSBCI, the Small Business Credit Initiative Program, it pales in comparison, $10 billion for that, but we're talking about $27 billion. So small businesses, I would begin to get prepared for that, because it can be transformative, not only for small businesses, but if we do this right, we can create, and you can be a part of it, of creating, I think, a green economy in small and disadvantaged communities. And so that's the alarm that I want to send out to all entrepreneurs and to all small businesses. As T.D. Jakes used to say, get ready, get ready, get ready, because real community will receive those funds. And we do it right. If we do it right, we can all be proud of the kind of changes we can see in the communities that have been left out, left behind, marginalized, underserved, under-resourced. But now an opportunity is coming, and let us be ready. And with that, I'm glad again, and thank you for an opportunity to provide comments, and hope you've gotten something as an entrepreneur that will allow you to begin to reflect upon how I can access Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, but more importantly, tap in to opportunities for small businesses afforded through SBA and other programs. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Linwood Long, Sr. We truly appreciate all of your amazing remarks and resources. And so we will make sure that everyone gets a link as well, and a copy of this webinar, so that you're able to connect with all of our speakers today. Next up, we have the amazing Felicia Brown, who is a senior advisor at AARP. She has over 25 years of experience developing programming, managing projects, and strategic planning. In her primary role as lead for AARP's Entrepreneurship Initiative, she provides strategic direction for national partnerships and national programming with focus on women, communities of color, and veterans. Among her recent accomplishments, They are the creator of the AARP's Meet the Founder, which is highlighting the stories of business founders, and the How She Did It podcast, which featured in the AARP Work and Jobs video series and led the creation of the Small Business Development Resource Center for the 50 plus, which you can go to smallbizrc.org. Ms. Brown is an active member of the Washington, D.C. chapter of the Foundation for NC-A&T State University and the NC-A&T Aggie Athletic Foundation, which is also AAF, where she has served in many leadership roles that include the secretary, first and second vice president, and fundraising. She also served as the former Washington, D.C. Alumni Association Board of Director, chair, where she led a major property renovation. And also, she is a life member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and is an active member of the Rho Mu Omega chapter located here in Washington, D.C. And with that, I welcome the amazing Ms. Brown.
Thank you. Thank you for that warm introduction, Renee. And as always, I was excited and grateful to be a part of these conversations, these important conversations that are so critical for our businesses of color. And so again, thank you. And thank you to SBA really for continuing to keep their pulse on the challenges that businesses of color face and creating solutions to help them survive and thrive. I like how the administrator identified our communities as underestimated, because there really is strong resiliency in communities of color across America, as these businesses really have become the largest starters of new businesses since COVID. And so, you know, AARP does understand the challenges founders face when it comes to funding to start and really grow a business, particularly for those of color. So 2 years ago, we made a strategic decision to address those disparities that exist, specifically as it relates to closing the gap around access to training and access to capital. And our strategy really consisted of working with and through organizations that provide direct-to-consumer programming to increase entrepreneurship in communities, because we know that small business can be a path to helping individuals increase their financial security and increase generational wealth when it's done right. And they receive the right supports necessary to be on their way. And so AARP is playing a role in helping to close that gap. Again, we work with national organizations, but we also have resources that people can access in addition to working with those national organizations. So as Renee mentioned, we have the Small Business Resource Center for the 50 plus. And there we have curated a plethora of resources that help you not only learn how to start, but also how to manage and grow. We've identified some audience resource pages, which you'll find there. And on those pages, we have a page for the African-American community, the Hispanic community, the LGBTQ community, the veteran, the AAPI, the Native American, and women, because we know also during COVID that women were the largest starters of businesses, particularly women of color. And on those pages, we decided that we want to be very intentional about identifying organizations that are at the ready to help these businesses get the right start. And whether that's training, whether that's providing grants, capital, links to investors, whatever that might be, we want to make sure that our audiences are equipped with the right information and direction to continue along their way. We host a number of town hall events as well to have a pulse on really what's happening on the ground and to share those best practices that other organizations have tested, tried and true over the years, and come to the table to really talk about how they're helping small businesses to get started and to stay, keep their doors open, and also to really share a little bit around what's not working, what they've tried, and what they've ditched, and how they've pivoted along the way. We also host a number of thought leadership events, really to continue to elevate the conversation around what and how to support businesses in this larger entrepreneur ecosystem, and really to also have these candid conversations around what are you doing to really close the gap as it relates to businesses of color, and what else is needed, and what are the barriers to keeping these organizations from being the best versions of themselves to serve these businesses in the right way. We also support national organizations, as again I said, that provide direct-to-consumer programming to ensure that there's a solution, that we are part of the solution, that we're supporting organizations who are part of the solutions, and that we continue to help businesses survive and thrive. And just want to tell you a little bit about some of those commitments we've made that you too might want to tap into. We've supported Unidos US, Latinx in Business, where they're increasing access to training and access to capital for current and aspiring entrepreneurs. We're working with the National Association for the Self-Employed, where we're supporting their grants program, where we are supporting 3 older entrepreneurs of color each quarter. We're giving $4,000 to 3 businesses of color each quarter. So I encourage you to research that on our resource center so you can get your application in today. We've also supported the National Association of Women Business Owners, where we've helped to launch the Establish and Ready to Grow program, where we worked with them to tap 40 women of color business owners who now say we're ready to grow, and we give them 6 weeks of training. Not only do they engage in training, but they're matched with a mentor who is also a seasoned entrepreneur, seasoned small business owner, who is a part of a NAWBO chapter. And they continue to have those connections in communities where they can stay connected to resources, capital, additional training, and all that NAWBO has to offer to continue to help them to be successful. And also part of that training program, they have the opportunity to attend the conference. They can pitch to attend the conference for free, as well as the opportunity to sell their business wares, promote their businesses at the national conference. So, these are just a few ways that we're showing our commitment to the sustainability of entrepreneurship. This year, 2020, we're continuing to deepen those relationships, but we're also looking for ways we can spark new opportunities and new relationships that will help us to go deep and wide in it as it relates to helping businesses of color to get the training and the access to capital that is so most needed in our communities of color. So I encourage you to go to our Small Business Resource Center at www.smallbizrc.org, as well as sign up for our new newsletter, the AARP Small Business Newsletter, where you can stay up to date and you can learn about that and register at www.aarp.org/new small biz, B-I-Z, newsletter. And thank you again for having me. I look forward to connecting with your audience beyond this event.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. We truly appreciate you, as always, for joining us and giving us that information. And again, we will share the links that Ms. Brown spoke about in our webinar presentation that we will email to you all tomorrow. And so now we're going to go into sort of an overview of a few other items. So we're going to talk about additional resources and information regarding the Inflation Reduction Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, the American Rescue Plan, Made in America, and then also about becoming a vaccination small business leader in your community. So the Inflation Reduction Act, on Tuesday, August 16, 2022, President Biden signed into law the Inflation Reduction Act, also known as IRA, which will lower costs for small businesses and working families. This is going to be done by making healthcare more affordable, leveling the tax playing field for small businesses versus large corporations, and then reducing the deficit and combating the climate crisis. When we're talking about the IRA, we want to get into the tax portion, and more particularly for the IRA, it will not raise taxes on the vast majority of small businesses or working families. This law is not funded in a way by personal tax increases on small businesses or working families that are making under $400,000, which is 98% of all Americans. And additionally, the IRS has promised the investments of these enforcements resources will not be designed around the Department of Treasury to come and actually impact, or there was a directive that will not impact small businesses that are under $400,000. So the increased funding for the IRS will be used to target businesses or working families. The IRS will be able to use the funding to upgrade their processes and focus on areas of challenges for the agency, such as large corporates, global high net worth taxpayers, those pass-through entities, and multinational taxpayers. Let's go on to the next slide. We're going to talk about healthcare now. The IRA will make prescription drugs more affordable without hurting innovation. The IRA will provide a 3-year extension through 2025. So it's already begun, of enhanced subsidies for small business owners who are buying their own health coverage on the Affordable Care Act marketplaces. And then also it allows Medicare to start negotiating the price of some prescription drug prices beginning in 2026 and caps Medicare Part D out-of-pocket costs in 2025. The Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, also known as the Bill BIL. And on November 15th of 2021, President Biden signed the Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act into law, making a historic investment of $550 billion in new funds for large infrastructure projects, supply chains, broadband, and drinking water. This is the largest investment in the nation's infrastructure since 1956. How it breaks down is like $55 billion in projects to deliver to clean water, $65 billion to expand the country's broadband, $110 billion to repair and rebuild the country's crumbling roads, and then $90 billion in modernizing public transportation. And now, how is this all going to impact, right, the small business community? Well, this law will touch virtually every part of Main Street and its economy. The law will expand access to tens of billions of dollars to federal, state, and local government contracts. The U.S. Department of Transportation is to award more than $37 billion in federal contracts. It's going to support an estimated 700,000 jobs per year, and it's going to help small businesses hire new employees and reach new customers. This is going to, of course, foster the development of Main Street small businesses in underserved communities throughout the United States. And to learn more, you can look at the guidebook by going to build.gov, or you can go to builduplocal.org as well. Now, the American Rescue Plan. In 2021, Congress passed the American Rescue Plan, also known as ARP, and the CARES Act, which is focused on helping small businesses and their consumers. We all have heard about it. It supports communities that were struggling in the wake of COVID-19, and the plan provided critical support to these communities. You heard about the grants that were awarded. There were lending and investments to hard-hit small businesses so that they can rehire, retain, and make sure that their workers were being paid. And it distributed more than $360 billion in emergency funding for state, local, territorial, and tribal governments. It was hard-hit public transit agencies were able to avoid layoffs and service reductions, which disproportionately harm workers who are more likely to depend on public transportation as well. The American Rescue Plan also created the Community Navigator pilot program. Now, this program was designed to reduce barriers that underrepresented and underserved entrepreneurs often face in accessing the programs they need to recover, grow, or start their businesses. There was a total of $100 million in funding to 51 organizations, and they were selected projects that will cover diverse communities across the United States, Puerto Rico, and they would serve as hubs. Centralized lead organizations, which would incorporate the spokes, have that build to trust in their local communities. And the goal was to connect small businesses to critical resources and assistance, such as financial assistance, access to capital, contract and procurement, marketing, operations, business development, exporting, and industry specific. And to learn more, you can go to the SBA website and click on Community Navigator to find a community navigator for you and your local community. The tax incentive. There's a paid leave tax incentive that was created as well. And under this program, employers can offer up to 12 weeks of paid leave. The leave can be used to take care of a family member or for maternity or paternity leave with biological or adopted children. In exchange for offering the leave, employers will receive as much as 25% tax credit for the amount of wages replaced. Now, this policy is targeted to hourly employees who would not otherwise have access to paid family leave. And employees who participate cannot make more than $72,000 per year. And again, you want to talk to your tax preparer in order to make sure that you are eligible or this makes sense for your business. And then finally, Made in America. And ensuring the future is made in America by all of American workers, launching a whole of government initiative to strengthen the use of federal procurement to support American manufacturing. To continue building on these implementation efforts and ensuring these ambitious goals aren't just talk, but action, there is an executive order established by the Biden administration to the creation of the Made in America office within the White House Office of Management and Budget, which is also known as OMB. This Made in America office works to implement federal procurement and financial management policy to help carry out the president's vision of a future made in all of America by all of America's workers, including minority entrepreneurs and small businesses in every region in our country. And to find out more about this program and how your business can be eligible, go to madeinamerica.gov. Now we're going to talk about becoming a vaccination small business leader in your community. So what can you do as a leader? We all know that you should get vaccinated and get booster shots. And if you are already vaccinated, you should encourage your employees, family, friends, and neighbors to get vaccinated as well. You should create a vaccination plan for your business, review state and local vaccine policies, or seek legal assistance. Consider incentives such as that new paid tax leave credit we discussed for your employees to get the shot and to recover if they should need so. Whether you encourage, incentivize, or mandate vaccines, you would want to make sure you communicate the plan to your employees, both verbally and in writing. Definitely continue to follow the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, which is also known as the CDC, guidance on wearing masks and social distances, even after all of your employees are vaccinated. And then we have these amazing links for you to check out as well for additional toolkits. And to learn more, go to whitehouse.gov/COVID plan. And with that, we thank you all so much for joining us today. If you have any SBA related questions, you can go to answerdesk@sba.gov. And if you have a question about a copy of this webinar, please feel free to email events@publicprivatestrategies.com. And additionally, again, you will receive a copy of this webinar and the slide deck with links that were discussed today. And again, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate all of you today.